Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. Now a couple of weeks ago we checked out their best pocket knives, but today we're taking a look at the best cold steel fixed blades that you can get your hands on right now in 2020. Let's check them out. Now cold steel, of course, may be most broadly known for some of their over-the-top antics in their knife demonstration videos, but the key thing to glean from those is they actually build some really solid tools. And they make some stuff from the affordable end all the way up to some pretty expensive stuff. But the stuff I've got here, actually, I'm gonna focus on some of their more affordable offerings, because that's where I think their products really shine. In fact, everything on the table right now, none of it's over $100. There's a lot of good stuff to be had right here. Now, of course, perhaps more than any other modern company out there right now, Cold Steel had more to do with popularizing the tanto blade shape in America than anyone else. And there's a lot of great choices in their lineup. And the default choice would have been their Recon Tanto, but for our purposes, I'm actually gonna pick something different because my favorite tanto fixed blade that they offer is the Koban boot knife. As you can see, we've got this solid tanto shape, and this is what's known as a Americanized tanto or a Western tanto shape, in that we've got a pretty defined point here near the front where it changes angles, whereas a traditional Asian tanto would be a little bit more gentle out there. But in any case, you get a really strong tip with this knife that can pierce really well. We've got Aus 8 steel, hollow ground to keep the edge thin enough to slice pretty well, and about 5.5 inches of length. The handles are nice and slim, but you still got a good swell here where you can get some good purchase on it. And you're going to see this on a lot of their fixed blades, especially the more affordable ones we're looking at here. They're using a craton material with sort of a diamond checkered pattern that, again, is going to give you a good amount of grip, but you can still have a nice strong tang underneath there as well. I really like the way this knife fits into your hand. It feels very natural, and you got plenty of length to work with. And it's still pretty light too. This only comes in about 4.4 ounces. Not bad for 5.5 inch fixed blade. Now the reason they call it a boot knife is you've got a clip right there, so you can tuck it in addition to your footwear. This would work great on a belt, like inside the waistband, that type of carry. And you can't, or actually no, you can flip this around, go to the other side, as well as fit something like a tech lock. Both large or small should fit these holes and slots here, so that you can carry it more traditionally with one of those if you prefer. But the sheath material, they call it Secure-X. And it's a molded sheath. It's not exactly Kydex, but it does click in positively, kind of similar to Kydex. And again, that's something you're gonna see a lot of on their affordable knives. So let me know what you guys think. Would you rather have a Recon Tanto or this Koban? Of course, all their Tantos are just indicative of all the really great knives that they make that are centered around martial arts and tactical uses. And they also make a very nice karambit design called the Double Agent. These designs all come in at the $30 price point, which is quite nice. You've got two blade shapes to choose from. You've got this hawkbill, which is the more traditional karambit shape, as well as a clip point shape also. You can get those either fully plain edge or fully serrated. Got about 3 inches of sharpened edge, Aus 8 again, nice and thin, razor sharp hollow grind, and a very acute point. Now on that sharpness, I will say, in terms of factory edges, especially on their fixed blades like these, Cold Steel I think are one of the best ones out there. You're gonna get a really, really nicely sharp edge right out of the box. Now the key features with the Double Agent, one, they want it to carry nice and flat. So you can see again, the thin steel goes into that, as well as a thin molded handle that goes over the tang. They also want the retention to be just impeccable, which is why you get not one, but 2 retention rings on this design. So whether you're holding it in a typical reverse grip or a forward grip, it's gonna be very hard to lose your handhold on this knife, especially if you are in some kind of rough and tumble situation. Now personally for me, I'm not a huge hawkbill guy, but especially the serrated version of the Double Agent I think would be a fantastic utility knife, especially for folks that work opening boxes all day, cutting pallet straps, things like that. The hawkbill nature, that recurve, is going to be really nice for cutting those things. You can get under those straps, pull it out, and cut quite nicely. Things like rope, that recurve helps, and the serrations help as well. Just a really solid utility knife on top of the tactical capabilities. But if you want more utility, of course, there is that, or more traditional utility, I should say, there is that clip point shape as well. We've got a Secure-X sheath again. Again, clicks nicely into place. And you've got some an actual positive retention tab here through that first ring. So you actually have to push that down in order to release the blade and fully draw it. Now in terms of carry, there's no belt attachment option supplied, and this isn't gonna fit something like a tech lock. You could make something yourself, but they actually intend for this to be carried as a neck knife. And they actually include a ball chain to do that, which is good because they're actually breakaway. So if someone were to gain control of this, it's gonna snap off of your neck rather than being able to use to like pull you down or choke you. And that's actually a feature we also see with this next knife, which is the mini tack neck knife. Also comes with a nice Secure-X sheath, clicks in quite well, and comes with a breakaway ball chain. Now you can also get this in two blade shapes. We've got tanto and a clip point, and these also come in at the $30 price point. And for me, I actually am not a huge tanto fan in general, but I actually really like this design, again, as a utility knife, in addition to the self-defense and tactical applications. Reason for that is you get a fair amount of sharpened edge in the overall small package. You got a little over 3 inches of edge itself, but then the overall length is only 6 3/4. So you're not, you don't have a whole lot of excess handle to get in the way, but you can still get a good grip on it and still have positive retention thanks to this design here with a really prominent front finger groove. We've also got a couple of holes here at the back that give you a little more grip in addition to relieving some weight. And it just feels like you have a solid grip on a smaller knife like this. Again, built for neck carry, you can get a lot of work done with this. Steel again, AUS 8, as you might have guessed. Nice hollow grind on the main section and then flat there at the tip for a little bit more strength. It's gonna cut really well. Steel's nice and thin, and the handles are nice and slim too. That Grivex doesn't add a whole lot of bulk, just enough to feel secure, and it's got a nice texture on it. Kind of reminds me of G10, in fact. But the weight on these is even better than the double agent. We're under 3 ounces, about 2.7 on this knife. You're gonna be very comfortable carrying this all day, every day, and not have to worry about not having enough knife on you to get your work done. All right, next we've got to talk about the Urban Edge. A push dagger, of course, is just one of those ultimate last-ditch options, and these ones from Cold Steel coming in at about 23 bucks are fantastic options. And they're even lighter still. Very unobtrusive to carry, about 1.9 ounces in this case. But you've got a double-edged blade of AUS 8 steel again, and you can get that either with dual plain edges like this, with dual serrated edges, or with one side serrated and one side plain edge. Similar style of sheath, no belt attachment, but we do get that breakaway ball chain. And the Grivex handles here do a little bit better job of filling the hand than the last two knives, because it is a very small handle and you want it to really lock into your grip, and it's certainly gonna do that. It's a little bit on the squishier side, although it's not soft by any stretch of the imagination, but you're gonna get a lot of positive retention there and a good flare here to keep your fingers from kind of sliding forward as you use it. But you can kind of think of this blade as a little bit of a small drop point. This wouldn't be a bad thing for some of the smaller utility tasks you're gonna need day to day, like opening a box or a package, cutting some string, smaller things like that. This would be a really nice thing to use. So in addition to their tactical stuff, Cold Steel also makes a lot of solid options for the outdoorsman out there. Whether you're a camper, bushcrafter, hiker, what have you, there's an option out there. And the knife that is kind of the perfect bridge between the more tactical and the more outdoor-oriented blades in their lineup is the SRK. Now this whole series is quite affordable, comes in just under 40 bucks. The standard SRK comes with a 6-inch blade of SK5 steel, which is very tough, and a hollow grind along the entire edge. Now I like this knife, but I'm showing you this one to show you the next one, because even better than the regular SRK, I like the new SRK-C for compact even better. Now the materials on this knife are the same. In fact, they've used kind of this handle design on a lot of different models, but it's a little bit slimmer, the steel is in fact, so it's a little bit better balanced. You still get that great SK5 steel, it's nice and tough, and it's still thick enough to take a beating too. But the balance is better, it's a little more nimble for doing your smaller tasks, but you've still got enough length, you can do some bigger jobs, you can do some light splitting and batoning when you need to. And personally, I also prefer the flat grind that you get on this knife as opposed to the hollow grind on the full-size SRK. Now SK5 is of course a carbon steel, so you'll need to take care of the edge and the logo areas, but we do have a black coating here to help inhibit corrosion, so you're not gonna have to worry too much about rust. Just keep using it and sharpening it and you probably won't have too much of a problem. The handle design may look a little blocky from the front, but it's actually got a nice swell when you look down from the top. Again, you've got that slightly squishy Grivex material, gives you a solid grip, and we've even got a nice finger guard here at the front to keep your finger from moving forward. Sheaths on these, again, are simple, but quite excellent. Snaps into place. You've got a retention loop here, so you can carry it on your belt just like so. Got a snap and Velcro here to remove it a little more quickly if you don't want to actually take your belt off. And you can take that off and use a large or a small tech lock if you want to attach it in a slightly different way. But they're solid designs. SRK, of course, stands for Survival Rescue Knife, and this has a lot of applications, not just for rescue personnel, but outdoorsmen, tactical, survival knives, you name it. This is just a solid catch-all design that's going to be able to run the gamut, and like I said, very affordable. The whole series starts at just over 40 bucks. Now, this next design is straight up bushcraft. It's the Finn Hawk, and it comes in at about 19 bucks. And if you like a Mora knife out there, but you're kind of been looking for something a little bit different or an alternative from another brand, this is a very compelling option. The fit and finish here is quite good. You've got that razor sharp Scandi grind, and we're using 4116 stainless steel on this knife. Edge retention is okay, but the fact that you're able to put a razor sharp edge on this particular steel very easily, it takes that fine edge very well, is gonna make this great for all those bushcraft things you need, such as, carving, really. That's what bushcraft knives are best at, because that Scandi grind is essentially kind of like a double planed chisel, so it works great whether you're carving wood, making tent stakes, feather sticks, traps, you name it. Really solid option here. Blade steel is 4 inches, and you can see from the straight back shape and the handle design here, it's very heavily influenced by the Finnish Puukko knife design. The Grivex is this green color in this case, so you get something a little bit different. Again, slightly tacky to the touch, but it really grips very nicely. The swell out there near the back really helps to lock things into your grip. A lot of people don't think about their last 2 fingers and the way they hold the knife. A lot of your power from a grip actually comes from those back 2 fingers. So having enough meat back there, especially on a knife you're going to be powering through some things, is very important. Now, one of the subtle details on this knife that I really appreciate that you don't really see from photos too well is the way they've treated the back end of the handle here. You can see we've got a nice scoop out essentially, and what's nice about that is it's a great place to put your thumb. If you're using it to drill or do any kind of stabbing with the tip, again, not something you need to do terribly often in bushcraft circles, but the fact that they've even considered that with the way the handle interfaces with your hand is very nice to see. Furthering the sort of Mora knife comparisons, we have a very simple sheath like so. It's not ambidextrous, it's only going to go in one way, but we got a nice simple belt clip on the back. All right, one of the other series from Cold Steel's lineup that deserves mention is their Drop Forged series, where everything is created out of a single massive piece of steel. They've got a bunch of different knives in the series, from the tactical stuff to the more EDC stuff, but also for the outdoor stuff. And that's why I want to show you the Drop Forged Hunter, which comes in at just under 40 bucks. Now, in terms of sort of a bomb-proof survival knife, it's honestly going to be hard to beat the strength you're going to be able to get with this knife. Because to start with, it's 52100 carbon steel, which is incredibly tough. And as you can see, like mentioned, it is all a single piece. There's no separation between the handle and the blade. It's technically a full tang, but it's not just a simple flat tang. We've got some nice rounded bits here so that it's not going to dig into your hand, as well as these scoops on each side, which makes the handle kind of like an I-beam, only a little more gentle. This is kind of like a really broad fuller. For one thing, that's going to remove some weight, and as I understand it also, it's also going to increase the rigidity in terms of flexing this way, just kind of similar to an I-beam. You've got just under 4 inches of blade, so it's going to be a nice length that's going to fit in just about anywhere in terms of outdoor circles. It's not so large it might raise too many eyebrows, and you're going to be able to beat on it. You can do some batoning, that steel is actually heavily used in some bigger choppers, so you know you've got a lot of edge stability and toughness to really put it through the ringer. Sheath, real similar to that SRK in terms of the features. Clicks in, you've got your retention loop there, similar belt loop attachment there, as well as tech lock compatibility if you'd rather carry it that way. It's just a really, really solid knife. Gray Teflon coating, so it's gonna help protect that steel from rusting and help it withstand the beating that you're inevitably gonna put on this knife. All right, it's a cold steel video, so we gotta talk about some bigger stuff. The first one I wanna show you is the OSS fixed blade. Now, the price on this is quite good, coming in at about 72 bucks, which is, again, it's nice for what you get here. It's actually based on the Black Bear Classic knife that they have, which is considerably more expensive. But again, I really think the sweet spot on some of these cold steel designs are at the more affordable end of the spectrum. They just feel so right at these price points. Blade is about 8¼ inches long, AUS 8 again, and we get a double-edged clip point profile. Very, very ferocious. There is a single-edged version that is a full flat grind instead, and that one's called the OSI rather than the OSS. Handle design, again, Craton, and we've got a sub-hilt in this case. Again, kind of going off some of the things we saw on the double agent, as well as the mini tech. You could kind of think of that as a small sub-hilt. They really want you to be able to maintain positive retention on this knife when you're gripping it. But this knife does feel very agile despite having all that grip and that much blade length. It doesn't feel like it's gonna weigh you down. It's gonna move quite nicely. I think Lynn Thompson, Cold Steel president, has actually used this while wild boar hunting. It'd certainly be a good option as a pig sticker for that sort of thing. In addition, again, to the larger tactical needs that it was intended for. As far as the sheath, I think you know the drill. Secure-X again, same kind of belt loop as before, tech lock compatibility, you really can't go wrong. All right, finally, we've got to show a big Bowie, and I was actually really torn on which one I wanted to show you. The Trailmaster, of course, is the obvious choice. The Laredo Bowie is also awesome, but I want to show you the Kaos Booty, and there's a reason for that. While it may look like a gimmick, I certainly do not think this knife is a gimmick. While we haven't tested out one of these Bowies specifically, the KnifeCenter crew has extensively tested some of the other Kaos series of knives, and they certainly are very tough. This Bowie version comes in about 96 bucks. We get SK5 carbon steel again, and about 10½ inches of length. And as far as the shape, I'd say this is sort of Marine Raider Bowie inspired, but it's gonna work great tactically, but I'm not a tactical guy. I think it's gonna work well in the outdoors with that kind of blade shape as well. Got a nice flat grind, and the handles, even though they have this sort of knuckle duster aesthetic here, are pretty darn comfortable to hold. All the edges are rolled over quite nicely so that there's nothing sharp that's gonna affect your grip. And of course, it's gonna lock in very nicely thanks to that split D-ring construction. That is aluminum on the handle, so it's nice and durable. And we've even got a hardened pole there at the back for striking things. As far as the sheath, you know what to expect. It's the same type of thing we've seen so far. But in terms of Cold Steel's branding, kind of big, bad, and over the top is the name of the game, and I really do mean that in a good way, and I don't think any of their big Bowies say that any better than the Kaos Booty does. It's just really cool. I was very pleasantly surprised by the comfort of these knives when I actually held and used them, and I wouldn't hesitate to take it out camping myself at all. In fact, the only thing I think they could do to improve it is maybe give you a little bit more of a finger choil right there, because it would be actually very comfortable to choke up on and more balanced for those smaller things. Then it would be just about perfect. But even as it is, I think this makes a great alternative to some things like other great knives like the Becker BK9 or the SE Hunglas. If you're looking for something a little bit more different, make sure to check out this knife. All right, so that is it for our list of the top 10 best cold steel fixed blades right now in 2020, or at the very least, they're my favorites among the lineup. Would love to hear what you guys think though. Was there anything you think deserved to be on this list instead? In any case, if you want to get your hands on any of them, make sure you click the links in the description. They'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com where you can get your order in. And while you're over there, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program because you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next knife if you're going to be buying one of these knives anyway. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. We'll see you next time.